I learned very quickly and dramatically, things change. Things that you rely on, things that you predict, are no longer there. It changes your life in very dramatic ways. But one of the misconceptions about chaos theory is that everything's random. And that's clearly not the case. Because there were still patterns in my life. Despite the fact that those patterns had reconfigured, despite the fact that my experience had changed me forever, I was the same but different, if that makes sense. The same person but a different person at the same time. One of the things we do in chaos is to embrace paradox, to realize that things change and stay stable at the same time. So there's me later, in my Elton John phase, still wanting to be the performer. There's also surprise at the same time, pattern and surprise, littered with unplanned events. And that is the essence of chaos theory. It's not saying everything is random. It's not saying it's just about chance events. It's saying that we are living in a world which is complex, dynamic, multifactorial, multi-influential, and there are so many of these different influences, all changing, and you're changing, that we simply cannot make long-range deterministic predictions. It makes that question, where will you be in 5 years' time, absurd. Because the world is just not like that, and you are just not like that. It shifts the emphasis in career development away from prediction, planning, and control, I believe, to a model of continual reinvention and creativity. And very often in life, when we think of change, we immediately jump to fast shift. Some of the research published in the Journal of Vocational Behaviour subsequently with Eva Chan has shown that when people are asked to think about chance events, they systematically recall events which are highly dramatic, negative, and outside of their control. Which gives us a clue to why, when you start talking about unplanned events or chance events, people get fatalistic. Oh, it's chance, I can't do anything about it. That's because they're focusing only on the fast shifts. So how are we going to deal with this situation? How do we thrive on shift? And I've talked about patterns, and I think this is one of the things that we have to start embracing. Complex patterns. Resist the temptation to fix the instantaneous. Resist the temptation to reduce things to really simple patterns. And here's an example. Here's an everyday scene. This guy has had a bit of a car crash. He's just run off the road. He wasn't injured. That's fine. It's a fairly everyday occurrence. There's nothing fairly unusual or strange about it, a fairly banal thing. The temptation is to zoom in there and have a look and see, how much damage there is to the car and so forth, because that'll tell us more about the accident. That's the traditional way of dealing with this situation, to understand it. But what happens if instead of zooming in, you zoom out to look at the pattern in its entirety? And you kind of get a different story. It changes the plot a little bit. And what went from being a banal motor vehicle accident turns into the luckiest break that guy ever had in his life. Sometimes by stepping back and seeing the emergent pattern, you get a better understanding of your clients and their context and their circumstance than if you zoom in and focus only on one or two different variables. It means embracing mess and messiness. Human beings have messy lives and live in a messy world. And we shouldn't try to put them into boxes and triangles and say that that's what the person is like. What we should be doing is try to embrace them in all of their complexity, in all of their uniqueness, and help them understand that and help them understand how they can reinvent themselves as circumstances or personal preference dictates. I believe it covers the major developmental tasks that each of us face as individuals navigating the complexities of the 21st century. That's how I learned to love chaos. Fast and slow shift is inevitable. The focus, I think, now needs to be on reinvention, on continual change and profound continual change, on focusing on patterns and complex patterns, and working to help people become more personally creative in a work-related, career-related sense. They're the things that I want to see privileged, and they're the things that the chaos theory of careers privileges in the 21st century.